Thank you very much, Dave. It is the final week of the CFL season for 2008. TSN, exclusive broadcaster of the CFL, proud home of the Grey Cup. A few weeks away, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have already clinched a spot in the semifinal in the West, they just need to know if they'll be hosting a home playoff date or not.
That's it, and that is the mission on which Ken Miller has his football team. His first year as the Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach. Win tonight to at least stay in control of their own destiny. Of course, Don Matthews, the somewhat embattled coach of the Toronto Argonauts, still looking for his first win in his latest tenure in Double Blue.
Might it come here tonight? Long time coming. He has not won a game as a head coach in 2 years. Keith Stokes is back. Jamie Bourne will kick this off. The final week of the CFL's regular season will kick off here tonight. Stokes at his 25. Trying to find a wall here. Has some blocking. Keith Stokes with room. Head down up to the 46-yard line. And who would have thought a year ago that Kerry Joseph, who was leading his team to the Grey Cup at the time, would be the quarterback a year later. You talk about embattled. A guy who's had a very up and down season, Kerry Joseph.
Well, in an ironic twist of fate, for 2 consecutive years, Kerry Joseph will play his last game of the season here at Rogers Center. The only positive he can take out of 2008 is if he can end this one with a win, as he did in the Grey Cup a year ago.
Good field position here. Play action. Joseph in the clutch, lets it go, and Andre Talbot, who's having a career year for the Argos despite all the losses here in Toronto, with the catch, his 71st of the season.
But here you see the Argos starting the game, getting Kerry Joseph out of the pocket a little bit, maybe not so much by design, but Joseph using his legs to buy a couple extra seconds. This is what Kerry Joseph does best. If he can continue to do that against the Riders D, he could be in for a big day.
A guy who used to wear the green and white, most outstanding player a year ago. Traded in the offseason. Joseph going deep, wide open for the touchdown. Arland Bruce. And Kerry Joseph strikes quickly against his former mates.
Kerry Joseph came into this one in absolute attack mode. Love the play calling from the Argos. You've got to score early on this Riders team. He's in the shotgun, straight drop back pass. Bruce goes on that go route. Finds a little bit of room. Obviously a breakdown in coverage. Safety Scott Gordon unable to get over the top in time, as Arland Bruce hauls in his 9th touchdown reception of the season.
58th straight game that Arland Bruce has caught at least a pass. That was a huge one, as the Argos, who got out to such a slow start a week ago in BC when they were throttled 55-32, they strike pay dirt on only their second play from scrimmage.
Arland Bruce had struggled to get things going, at least to find the end zone under Don Matthews. This is his 4th touchdown in his last 3 games, as it seems like that rapport between Joseph and Bruce that so many had been waiting for since the start of the season. That connection finally seems to have been made, Rod.
You know what the Argo fans are saying? A lot too late. Where has that been? Cody Pickett, the backup. Kerry Joseph, what a year for him. Again, traded back in March. Comes here as star quarterback Michael Bishop.
What's up, CFL?
For all intents and purposes, the backup. Joseph then benched, humiliated at one point, comes back off the bench. Has not been the same Kerry Joseph we watched last year, but that was a lot like the K-Joe show from last year.
Well, both plays on that drive showed you the skills that Kerry Joseph brings to the table. 1, the mobility, 2, the arm strength.
Neil Hughes on that shortish kick. And so probably the same field position to start here for Michael Bishop. Here's our starting lineups, brought to you by Holiday Inn Hotels. Look again at Holiday Inn, and I don't know if it's another twist of delicious irony, but here Michael Bishop is back in Toronto.
Well, finishing the season with a big game himself, a chance to get that home playoff date for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and their fans, and he would love to deliver that with a win over the team that gave up on him.
Bishop has running room. Knocked out of bounds.
By contrast, you see Michael Bishop getting outside the pocket on the opening play. Same kind of thing Kerry Joseph had a ton of success with in 2007. That Argo D that's going to be charged with the task of keeping Bishop in the pocket, led by the defensive line, Jonathan Brown. Struggled a little bit in the second half of the season, looking for a strong finish. Willie Pyle, the Argos' most outstanding defensive player nominee. On the back end, Jermaine Mays gets the start at halfback, his first start of 2008 here in the season finale.
Second down, just 1 yard to go. Looks like the first down successfully completed. And look who's back for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And you talk about an appropriate time. DJ Flick, who broke his left leg second week of the season in BC Place.
Yeah, they're so excited to have DJ Flick back. They actually thought of the three injured receivers, Andy Fantuz, Matt Dominguez, and DJ Flick. The feeling for much of the season was that Flick would be the first one to come back. Now it ended up being quite the opposite. Dominguez, then Fantuz, now Flick. Flick getting a chance to play tonight as Matt Dominguez takes a little time off before the playoffs.
Bishop lets one fly for Weston Dressler, a wobbler, and there are penalty flags flying as he got tripped up in the coverage.
And there's no doubt about this call. Jermaine Mays was running with them, but waving his arms, ran right into Dressler while waving his arms around in front of his face.
Jake Ireland is the referee here tonight.
Pass interference, Toronto number 42, first down.
And Weston Dressler, of course, a key part of that potent Rider aerial attack. No matter who is at quarterback, they've got some outstanding receivers. This guy has been a major find this year, and this was definitely interference.
Well, you talk about Weston Dressler, and you see Jermaine Mays runs right over him as Dressler tries to fight back to the football. But talk about the injuries they've had this year, and that being the story of the receiving corps. Dressler is a guy who sure stepped up.
Human bulldozer, Chris Sarka, straight ahead on first down into the red zone. Weston Dressler could become the CFL Rookie of the Year. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have not had a Rookie of the Year for a couple decades.
Well, it's been quite some time for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but Weston Dressler is the odds-on favorite, having already picked up the team nomination. This is a guy who has been so good, over 2,000 all-purpose yards this season for a guy who is supposed to just be a kick returner. He's ended up being a 1,000-yard go-to receiver.
Michael Bishop will score on the keeper. A little souvenir for a fan back there as Bishop comes back to haunt his old mates.
Well, and as irony seems to be the flavor of the day, how about Michael Bishop running a play that kind of made Kerry Joseph famous a year ago? You're going to see the offensive line take their sets and then block out and create a lane for Bishop. Follows his guard, Mike Abumetric, in untouched. Well-executed draw play by the Saskatchewan Roughriders offensive line.
At one time, controversy here with quarterbacks Bishop and Joseph. No controversy now, and it's 7-7 early first quarter in Toronto. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people. Michael Bishop does what Kerry Joseph does. Takes his team to the end zone on their opening drive. And isn't this fun so far?
Well, this has been a terrific start to this football game. Just what we expected from both teams to come out firing on all cylinders. Great deal of intensity. There's some emotion between these two teams, even if they're not divisional rivals.
And one team that's looking to the postseason and one team looking to next season. Stokes again, finding a seam, picks his way out. still on his feet. Stokes finally brought down by the kicker, Jamie Mora. And again, instant field position for the Toronto Argonauts and Kerry Joseph.
Well, Kerry Joseph looking to answer the challenge laid down by Michael Bishop on the Roughriders opening drive. Joseph has got Jamal Robertson, another former Rough Rider, alongside him in the backfield. This receiving corps has seen the emergence in recent weeks of PK Sam and Reggie McNeil. Along the offensive line, congratulations to guard Taylor Robertson for the second consecutive year the Argos' top O-line.
Robertson off of right tackle, and Robertson close to the first down. Jamal Robertson was a Saskatchewan Rough Rider, albeit for a cup of coffee, traded for LaRon Mitchell and found a home in Toronto.
I want you to keep an eye on a guy who's got a bright future in this Argo offense. Number 81, Steve Schmidt, lines up as a tight end or fullback. Great kick-out block on this play, coming to seal the backside. This is a poor man's Teo Johnson, very athletic receiver slash running back.
Robertson accelerates down the sideline. Jamal Robertson down to the 20-yard line. All offense so far.
What we've seen on this particular drive is the Argonauts are missing their most outstanding player nominee, Dominic Dorsey. We've seen them get great field position from the returner replacing him, Keith Stokes, and some great running from the backfield by Jamal Robertson, the man replacing Dorsey at running back. There you see Jamal Robertson's numbers on the season. Picking up many of those over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks in the absence of Dorsey.
Play action this time. Joseph going, pump fake, and throws it to Talbot. Talbot looks for the end zone. The Argos feel he scored. They're saying he's out at the 1. Touchdown! They are saying he scored a touchdown, and took them a while to put the signal up. But Andre Talbot has the major as he lunged forward.
Well, the key to this play is the ability to get Kerry Joseph around the outside of this formation. Steve Schmidt, again, the man who seals the edge. Great block on Kitwana Jones to pin him to the inside. Joseph gets around the corner. That buys him a little bit more time to throw. And again, watch the defense, unsure whether to attack upfield or drop in coverage because Kerry Joseph is that dual threat. This has been missing from the Argos offense all year. They finally found a way to get him outside.
Andre Talbot. Argos lead 14-7. Some offensive fireworks so far. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra, professional grade. Nothing can go wrong so far for both offenses here. Once again, Mike Vanderjack keeping it on the ground, and a wobbler gets through. James Patrick picking it up. How about this start for both sides? 8.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Andre Talbot already talking about next year. That's only his 3rd touchdown of the season. He had to work hard for it.
Well, he sure did. Maybe getting in by inches. Or did he? Tough call right here. See a nice block there by PK Sam to let him get around the edge. Maurice Lloyd bumps him just as he gets to that pylon. He took out the pylon, so they're going to give him that one.
Now the former Argo, Michael Bishop, 11-1 as a starter last year for the Toronto Argonauts, and that's what a lot of his ex-teammates and a lot of people felt. Well, Michael Bishop may have shown his best stuff last year. Why wasn't he showing that kind of stuff this year? Look at his years with the Argonauts.
Well, Michael Bishop, the thing that seemed to mark his time with the Argonauts overall, inconsistency, and you see that in the completion percentage and his touchdowns and interceptions being even. Bottom line about Michael Bishop, though, this guy won football games for the Toronto Argonauts, and that was something that got lost in the shuffle.
Something lost in the communication here. He takes a
Timeout. Saskatchewan.
Before this game began, Michael Bishop, his first trip back to Toronto since being traded on August 23rd, and joining the quarterback carousel, there's his old coach. Chad Folk, a teammate of his, Dominic Dorsey, who also played in Saskatchewan and rest of the Argos, and the same thing with Kerry Joseph when he saw his Saskatchewan teammates. But a lot of players will tell you to a man they really loved having Michael Bishop here. Despite his inconsistency, despite his numbers, the guy was a winner last year.
Well, I think the pictures supply the evidence to that. Michael Bishop was not traded because of a lack of popularity in the Argo dressing room. Well liked, and the reason he won all those games that I alluded to a few minutes ago, teammates were willing to follow him.
Catch made by Andy Fantuz. Michael Bishop continues to move the football. Never wanted to leave Toronto, but he's happy that he left the controversy behind.
For me, I guess it was good that I got out when I got out, and I felt sorry for a lot of guys that had to go through some of the things that they went through this season. But at the same time, I mean, that's football. Those things happen. So, I'm just blessed and thankful that I have the opportunity to play football. And, I'm playing with a great group of guys with a winning attitude. And, we have a chance to do something special.
Bishop is picked off by Byron Parker. Parker with the interception. Only his third of the season, so that inconsistency that plagued Michael Bishop at that time, that had a lot to do with the hit that was applied to number 17.
Well, it sure did. And watch out for the blitz from the free safety, number 30, Kenny Wheaton. The pressure is what creates a bad throw here. In fact, he makes contact just as Bishop throws this football, knocks that one off target. And Byron Parker says, "Thank you very much, Kenny Wheaton, for the gift."
Interceptions plaguing the quarterback by committee Riders of late. Joseph, quick strike to PK Sam. Over the last 3 games, again, this is a quarterback by committee right now. Bishop has been the Dane starter so far. They have not committed to a playoff starter. Darian Durant, Stephen Giles, and Michael Bishop have each thrown 3 interceptions. Now Bishop's 4th in the last 3 games.
Well, they've all had their ups and downs, as you said, Rod. And the luxury that the Saskatchewan Roughriders have, if you want to look at it that way, is that they have confidence in all 3 of these guys that if one is struggling, they'll turn the page and move to the next one on the list.
Joseph for Bruce. Great defense there.
Take a look at the Saskatchewan defense. It's just come up with a big stand on a short field. Happy to finally have John Chick back in the lineup after an injury-plagued season. And that linebacking core intact. Arguably the league's best. Anton McKenzie with a tremendous season from the weak side linebacker spot. In the secondary, these guys just keep on ticking. A group that's had the opportunity to gel together over the last couple of years. And the glue, number 29, the veteran, Eddie Davis.
Tad Cornegay making that last defensive play, filling in for Lance Frazier this week. Field goal attempt by Mike Vanderjack. There is a penalty flag over near the 33-yard line. Single point conceded, but let's wait on the call here.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 46. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, what a costly one. So the Argos will continue to hang on to the football here. There's Ken Miller, the first-year head coach. Last year, the offensive coordinator in Saskatchewan. Used to be an assistant here in Toronto. Let's take a look at the penalty.
And you can see right at the bottom of the screen from that defensive end spot, Kidwana Jones was the man who was tagged. As you can see, he was lined up in that neutral zone.
So the Argos will continue to march here. Robertson. Half the first down yardage. Jamal Robertson, again, no Dominic Dorsey, who was dominating this year as a special teams player, inserted into the backfield at times. Jamal Robertson's had some big games with the Argos, but truthfully, the Toronto Argonauts have not had many big games this year.
No, they haven't had a lot. They've shown flashes over the last 4 weeks, but the bottom line in the game of football, wins and losses, they've been able to get one of those W's.
Out of the backfield, Robertson now one-on-one. spins, and another first down.
Well, Jamal Robertson does a good job on this play to check and get out of that backfield. Going to see him lined up to the left side of the screen. He's just going to slip out into the flat. A little bit of confusion with the motion from the receivers, perhaps, as he gets lost in coverage. Nice recognition there by Kerry Joseph as well to pick up who was going to be the open receiver. And as pressure came, get rid of the ball quickly.
Coming up to 4 minutes left in the opening quarter, the Argos have been impressive offensively so far. Robertson meets a wall, led by veteran Scott Schultz.
Well, it looked like the Argos had a play at the start of this one. A little bit of a hole opened up, but Scott Schultz from his defensive tackle spot manages to fight off the block on the inside. He's the first man to get there and wrap up Jamal Robertson. Big number 96, the Moose Jaw native. Guy who certainly recognizes the value of that home playoff game in Saskatchewan.
Sean Lucas had to leave the field of play. He's had a problem with his helmet, so the official sent him to the sideline. And a substitution coming in for Saskatchewan. Argos throwing now on 2nd down and 7. Trying to find the end zone. PK Sam does.
Who are these guys?
Must be Halloween because they are starting to look like a football team now. The Toronto Argonauts, who've had so many struggles the last few weeks.
Well, Kerry Joseph, I mentioned earlier, PK Sam has become one of his go-to guys, a real find for the Argos at mid-season since he has found his stride. He has been an important part of this offensive scheme.
The Argos have been near flawless. How many times have we said that this year? 21-7 they lead. Another TD for PK Sam. Let's go to the sideline now and join Claude Fagg here tonight. Claude.
Well, Rod, certainly Kerry Joseph getting the upper hand on Michael Bishop so far in this game. When you talk about these two former teammates, a lot of emotion coming into the game this week. Now, Joseph told me before the game his motivation has less to do with trying to keep his former team from clinching a playoff spot in the West at home or trying to show up his former management. He says for him, it's just about tasting victory. He says his stomach turns when he thinks about how this whole season is unraveled at 4-13. Bishop has maintained that his priority is to try to get his team into the postseason as a home team, and a poignant message of how these two guys maybe don't see eye to eye when they were here as teammates. Before the game in the warm-up, Bishop came over to say hi to one of the coaches. KJ was right nearby. The two barely made any eye contact and didn't say anything to one another, guys.
Thank you, Claude. You know, during their time here together, and there was always the talk about a controversy or a soap opera that was going on, both of these guys played it pretty straight-laced and said, hey, it's not about us. Keep in mind, though, that they were both starting quarterbacks and they both wanted to play, and it reminded you a little bit of the situation a few years ago in BC when Dave Dickinson and Casey Pritters were there, and there wasn't enough football for either one of them. Wes Cates the carry, trying to battle for a rushing title.
Yeah, and you know, just to go back to that thought about the quarterbacks, Rod, I truly don't believe this was a situation where Michael Bishop and Kerry Joseph dislike each other, but you could just sense the discomfort between them that Claude talked about even during the warm-up. They were thrust into that uncomfortable position right from day one when that trade was made to acquire Kerry Joseph after Michael Bishop had what most people saw as a breakout season for the Argonauts.
Bishop, a quick hitter, and for a first down, Weston Dressler.
And here's an example of that unspoken communication between quarterback and his receivers. Everybody has to have that recognition. You'll see from the left side of your screen, number 10, Willie Pyle on the blitz. means receivers have to make their blitz adjustments, get their heads around quickly. Weston Dressler does that. Michael Bishop recognizes, gets the ball to the right guy before the pressure can reach him.
Inside 2 minutes in the opening quarter. 2-touchdown lead for the Argos. Wes Cates, big hole, explodes through it. Wes Cates coming into tonight 95 yards back of Joffrey Reynolds for the CFL rushing title. Again, it's something that you'd like to win, but not at the expense of getting hurt. But Cates could rack up that yardage tonight. Reynolds, of course, will play with the Stampeders this weekend against the BC Lions.
Play like this from the Saskatchewan offensive line will go a long way towards helping Wes Cates challenge Reynolds for that title.
Saskatchewan needing a win to keep their home playoff date dream alive. If they do not win here tonight, BC automatically clinches. Saskatchewan must win, and BC must lose to Calgary in order for the Roughriders to seal that home playoff date. Keep in mind that's a key, obviously, at Mosaic Stadium, being their home turf, which they got last year, of course, a home playoff date. But also financially, it's huge for a team to have that home playoff date.
Well, it truly is. That is perhaps the greatest reward of finishing in a higher place in the standings in the CFL.
Fantouz reaching out, ducking one tackle. Andy Fantouz, like DJ Flick, guy who also broke his leg this year, came back earlier than Flick. But Andy Fantouz, such a key contributor last year in the run to the Grey Cup.
And Andy Fantouz looks like he has not missed a beat since returning from that broken leg, stretching out to catch that ball at the highest point. A couple of moves after the catch, but nice to see a guy, after coming back from an injury like that, not be afraid catching balls across the middle, going into contact and so on.
Missed 11 games with that broken fibula, had 4 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown last week in the big win over Edmonton, where the Riders rolled up 55. Penalty flag flies. This should be coming up the final play of this opening quarter, which has seen a lot of Argo.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan number 17. 5-yard penalty. It remains first down.
A year ago, these two teams met the regular season finale in Regina. Bishop was the quarterback for the Argos. Joseph was the quarterback for the Roughriders. Bishop led the Argos to a big win into the Eastern Final, of course, and Joseph, his team may have lost, but they went on to win the Grey Cup. Times have changed. DJ Flick with his first catch since coming back. The Roughriders love that, to see DJ Flick back and healthy before the playoffs begin. That's the end of the first quarter. The Argos lead 21-7. Just the second time the Toronto Argonauts have had the lead after one quarter in this 8-game losing streak. Our numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
And we've seen both teams through the first quarter of this football game, Rod, moving the ball, being very productive offensively. The Argonauts have gained a little bit of an advantage, though, by having a short field given to them by the other phases of the game. Defense with an interception, and special teams, Keith Stokes with a good kickoff return, gave them a short field to work with as well.
Very interesting, a lot of the subtext going on here tonight with Bishop and Joseph, but also for Don Matthews trying to get a win, and certainly for the Saskatchewan Roughriders trying to clinch that home playoff date. But as they showed last year, that final game of the season, a lot of people think you have to get into the playoffs riding a high. They went on to win the Grey Cup, and look at the running room here for Wes Cates. Cates, can he get in? Down to the goal line.
Well, Wes Cates is the #2 receiver in terms of yardage for this Saskatchewan team this season, behind Weston Dressler. Been a very good weapon in that regard. Quick check swing, checks to make sure blitz isn't coming. Gets out in a hurry. That's important because it gives his quarterback an outlet. If nobody's rushing, there's no sense waiting around the backfield because Michael Bishop needs him here. Hangs in there just long enough as well. And occasionally, the defenders responsible for him in coverage think that he's not coming out. and he ends up uncovered on the play.
Stephen Giles now for the short yardage play. First and goal, the handoff to Cates, and smothered at the line of scrimmage. Can't get in this time. Cates has 14 touchdowns on the season. Jamel Richardson of the Montreal Alouettes leads the CFL with 16.
Well, you'll see the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they're all stacked on top of each other here in the backfield. They're actually 3 deep in the eye, which puts Wes Cates a little bit deep taking this handoff, and you'll see the play is slow to develop. As a result, the Argos are able to fight their way off their blocks and get there and make the tackle on the play. Ideally, you want a quick hitter, if anything, move your back up or have him anticipate that snap count a bit so he hits that line a little bit quicker.
Another big play here for both sides. Second and goal. Now from the 2-yard line. Play action. Giles in trouble. Sidearm and threw it away. And this will force a 3rd down play. And Ken Miller's not even going to go for this. They're going to bring Luca Conji out for the kick, the 3-pointer.
Well, Stephen Giles wanted to throw this one to the flat. You'll see the fullback just moving to the right-hand side. Chris Zarka, that's the primary receiver on this play. He's going to go to the flat, but he's well covered on the play by Adrian Mays. As a result, Stephen Giles has to scramble and try to find another receiver, but the Argos do a good job of staying disciplined in their rush lanes so that Giles isn't able to break contain, get outside that pocket and make something happen.
Most accurate kicker in the Canadian Football League, Luca Conji. A little chip shot here, buries it. Makes it an 11-point game here. 21-10 Toronto. Can the Argos win one for the Dawn? Finally, Matthews still winless as an Argo head coach in his 3rd tour of duty said he did not tell his team to come out here and play the spoiler role.
What I did talk to the team about was the fact that this is pro football, and the people in this room, everybody in this room today will be the last time that this room will ever play football together as a team because of retirements and trades or whatever happens. This team will never be this team again. So their chance is to go out and play the last game of the season with this team because it's going to be the one that you remember about this season for the rest of your life.
Do you buy that?
I definitely buy that, but it was funny to me to hear Don Matthews saying that because I've actually had a coach give a very similar speech, use the same motivation prior to a Grey Cup game for us, that this is your last opportunity to play and win with this group of guys. So I found that interesting, but it is one of those things that can play on the players' emotions a little bit, and that's what you need to do to get guys fired up.
Well, this team appears fired up here tonight. They, again, have not had many leads of late. Reggie McNeil is brought down by Omar Morgan. Kerry Joseph looking so good right now. In fact, Joseph, over his last 3 games, I mean, he's had a couple of stinkers along the way, but over his last 3 games has racked up some pretty good yardage. His touchdown to interception ratio has come down a little bit, but he seems to be picking up some steam here, albeit too late.
Yeah, I think the important thing, though, in that is regardless of statistics, is just that Kerry Joseph has looked more comfortable doing what he's been asked to do and guiding that Argonaut offense.
I know the guys in the studio talked about it before the game. Maybe you can weigh in on this. Kerry Joseph next year, a Toronto Argo, elsewhere in the league, even Michael Bishop. You don't even know with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I don't think at this point who their playoff starting quarterback is. I think it might depend on what happens here tonight.
Well, that is likely the case for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Their starting quarterback in any subsequent week has been determined by the success, who has had the greatest success in the previous game.
Reggie McNeil, maybe some razzle-dazzle here. He throws it for Arland Bruce. And McNeil, the former quarterback, we've seen him try to do that a couple of times over the last few weeks. We've been waiting a long time, actually, because, again, McNeil was a star quarterback at Texas A&M.
But here you'll see Reggie McNeil comes around the back, going to his left, sets up and throws this one on the run, but just rushed a little bit, and that one sails on him. But these are the elements that Reggie McNeil, as a former quarterback, offers to the Toronto Argonaut offense. Think they didn't try any of this stuff with him. He was strictly a receiver until 2 weeks ago. He threw his first pass 2 weeks ago. We saw him run a reverse last week, and now another pass this week. Finally using the weapons this guy has to offer.
Joseph for Talbot downfield. Actually, that's Tyler Scott on the far side of the field. A correction. Tyler Scott, his first reception here tonight, as Kerry Joseph did a terrific job avoiding the pressure.
Well, again, this is where Kerry Joseph offers that dual threat, is when he's able to get outside of the pocket as well. Avoids the rush from John Chick, and then gets on the move. You've got to be afraid of this guy running, so you can't just go right at Kerry Joseph. You've got to make sure you keep leverage, and occasionally that'll buy him a little bit more space to deliver a throw just like that one.
Tyler Scott on the sideline now out of Western. Play action again. Kerry Joseph tucks it and takes it. Saskatchewan Roughriders should know that play. Kerry Joseph used to run a lot with the football when he wore green and white.
This is all about decision making, and this is a good choice by Kerry Joseph. He's only got 2 receivers on the front side. Both are covered, and he recognizes that right away. Just tucks the ball and goes instead of trying to force something. He's got a little bit of room, move the chains, and that's exactly what he does.
There are the yards Joseph has accumulated on the ground, one of the rushing leaders for the Toronto Argonauts. Getting close to the red zone now. Joseph backpedals and goes deep for Bruce again. He's a little overthrown this time. Again, Tad Cornegay working on the corner on Bruce.
And good coverage in this case by Tad Cornegay. Not much room to thread the needle on this one. You'll see Arlen Bruce, number 5, starts out in the slot. He's going to go on a corner route here. Cornegay doesn't bite on that inside stick. That doesn't leave Kerry Joseph much room to throw that football. Not a lot of separation, not a big cushion there. So he's got to keep it close to the sideline.
Once again, Tyler Scott at the top of the screen. Reggie McNeil at the bottom. Robertson in the backfield. Second down. Open again is Bruce for another Toronto first down, close to the 10-yard line. And you are so right. Where have these guys been this entire season? This is the best we've seen the Toronto offense in a long time.
Well, no doubt. Here you see Arlen Bruce does get a little more of a cushion as they're in zone coverage. Recognizes that, sits down in space. Kerry Joseph throws that one on time. And we've seen them even in recent weeks occasionally, Joseph and Bruce, not necessarily on the same page, but they're reading each other's mail here tonight, Rod.
Joseph. Talbot shakes one, still on his feet. Lurches forward and close to a first down. They don't have to get in for a touchdown here. They just have to get close to the goal line and they can go first and goal.
Well, you'll see Andre Talbot lines up in the slot on this play. Kerry Joseph is going to be able to break contain. Jamal Robertson gives him a little bit of help. Pin the weak side linebacker Anton McKenzie inside. Some nice shakes here by Andre Talbot after the catch. Loses Eddie Davis, ducks back out on Omar Morgan. Pick up a couple extra yards and put the Argos in this second and short situation.
Talbot again a career year in catches and receiving yardage. The most outstanding Canadian nominee for Toronto. All the nominees coming out this week. It will be second short yardage, twin backs. And on the reverse is Bruce. Arlen Bruce is going to be stopped for a loss. The Riders read that perfectly.
Well, good read by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, particularly that weak side linebacker Anton McKenzie, who has had an all-star type season for this team. You're going to see he doesn't allow himself to lose leverage on Arlen Bruce, who comes around from the left side of that formation. See how McKenzie takes that outside-in angle so as not to allow himself to get outrun, beaten by any kind of fake by Bruce. That is classic textbook linebacker play from number 42, Anton McKenzie.
Great hold by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Don Matthews is going to take a timeout. Maybe want to talk about this. It's going to be 3rd and 4 yards. They were bringing Mike Vanderjagt out to kick the field goal. He's still on the field. Not exactly certain why Matthews wanted to take the timeout. Maybe perhaps just a miscommunication, had too many players on the field, and so they will try 3. So this is a victory here for the Saskatchewan D.
Yeah, definitely able to hold in that situation. As far as the timeout for Don Matthews, whether there was confusion, he just wanted to make sure that they didn't end up missing out on an opportunity to put some points on the board here. Always a wise choice.
And again, this one just a little kick from the 14-yard line. 24-10, Argonauts. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. Toronto Argonauts limping along on an 8-game losing streak, final game of the season. And they lead the Saskatchewan Roughriders 24-10. Michael Bishop, play action, knocked down right at the line of scrimmage by Claude Harriott, one of the newcomers over the final third of this season for the Argos.
Claude Harriott has stepped right into that rush end spot ever since the Argos moved to this 4-man front. There's been an effective presence. He and Walter Curry meshing very well with the veterans, Adriano Belli and Jonathan Brown. Good reaction there by Harriott to get the hands up.
Second down, 10 yards to go now. Joseph again, or Bishop again. Sails one. Over the head of DJ Flick. Well, Mike O'Shea, the veteran, maybe playing in his final game tonight, mic'd up for us here tonight.
Here we go!
Whoa. You're over the top. You're over the top there.
The mic on Mike. We'll listen to O'Shea tonight. Keith Stokes still on his feet. Up to the 49-yard line. Playing his 269th regular season game here tonight. CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by Ramada Worldwide. You do your thing, leave the rest to us. Sailing down Yonge Street, the world's longest street. Downtown Toronto, not far away from the Dome here, Rogers Center. Goes with a 14-point advantage, and Jamal Robertson dancing again, churning out more yardage here tonight. The Argos have certainly mixed and matched a lot of their play calls here.
Well, their running game seems to have become a little bit bigger piece of the puzzle for them over the last few weeks as they have become, frankly, more competitive out on the field. And Jamal Robertson, by being productive when given the opportunity, has allowed them to do that.
Passing down now on 2nd and 5. 6 receivers, but Joseph will take off with it. Kerry Joseph has the first down and will step out of bounds into the arms of some of his old teammates. He has a chuckle over there with them.
Well, clearly some adjustments to the Toronto Argonaut playbook here in the final week. As Kerry Joseph mentioned just last week, this was a team that didn't have the quarterback draw in their playbook. Not sure how that happens when you've got the guy wearing number 4 as your quarterback. That is the case. Good to see them make the adjustments here in the final week. Albeit too late.
Joseph, that one is one of his only errant tosses here tonight. He's got a good percentage going. 6 minutes to go before halftime. But, you know, in your wildest dreams, Kerry Joseph, did you think after celebrating that Grey Cup and that season for the ages last year, contract squabble with the Riders and then the trade in March, that Kerry Joseph would be in Toronto and then flatline and have the season that he had? Joseph in trouble, brought down, and the veteran Eddie Davis with the sack.
Eddie Davis comes on the halfback blitz on this play. He's going to come from the bottom side of this lineup, left end of the formation. You'll see number 29 looking like he's in coverage on Andre Talbot, disguises it well, and just goes. When you've got a guy with the speed of a defensive back like Eddie Davis coming from a yard off the ball and that close to the tackle box, you got to make up your mind in a hurry.
There is a penalty flag. There is Weston Dressler at the 20-yard line.
Well, it looked like on that play, Shante Williams, number 93, ran in late on the Roughriders punt return team. Probably going to get an illegal substitution here against Saskatchewan.
Talking with Mike O'Shea, the Argonaut captains.
Illegal substitution. Saskatchewan number 93. That penalty is declined. First down.
You have a gate which opens and closes. You'll see Shante Williams come trickling into the screen late here from the Saskatchewan bench. As they recognize they're a man short. In that situation, you got to hold him on the bench and just not let him go. You're better off to run the play with 11 than take that flag.
Team that's faced a lot of adversity is a defending champion this year, mostly because of injury. Riders on their way to the playoffs again. Quick hitter to Andy Fantuz, the former Heck Crichton Trophy winner.
Well, Andy Fantuz just running the crossing route there. He gets a little bit of space created as DJ Flick lines up as the single receiver to the left side of the screen. You can see Fantuz tucked in at the right side, motions in behind the line of scrimmage, heads out to the flat, but you see because Flick has run that go route to pull the cornerback Willie Middlebrooks out of there, that creates a little opening for Andy Fantuz to run into.
Bishop again. Andy Fantuz, who a year ago, just over a year ago, struggled a little bit. Then picked it up when Matt Dominguez got hurt and found his A game again, and Andy Fantuz became as dominant with the Riders as he was when he was playing university football.
Well, he sure did. And it would have been very interesting to see what kind of a 2008 season Andy Fantuz would have had he been able to stay healthy for the entire year, because down the stretch of last season, as you said, after Dominguez got hurt, Andy Fantuz became one of the most dominant receivers in the CFL.
Most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup game, and down open on the sideline, Weston Dressler. Brought down by Willie Middlebrooks.
Well, working on the short side of the field where you're so often going to get those man-to-man matchups, you get isolation out there. Dressler is flying solo against Willie Middlebrooks. Motions out of the backfield, that's him disappearing off the right side of the screen. He's just on the go route. Gets a couple steps on Middlebrooks. Well thrown ball by Michael Bishop. Good recovery by the defender to make sure that Dressler doesn't find the end zone.
Michael Bishop used to have a tendency of overthrowing guys on fly patterns like that. Took a little bit off of it. You could see the arm strength. That was just like a half toss from Bishop. Red zone again for the Riders. And a one-hopper. And the 3-minute warning before halftime, and the Roughriders threatening the end zone here. We'll step aside and come back to Rogers Center tonight on TSN. Rider fans everywhere, proud Rider Nation. Wendy's Friday Night Football tomorrow night. Montreal Alouettes in Edmonton to take on the Eskimos. Both teams getting ready for the postseason. The Owls will have a bye. Eskimos will cross over to play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's tomorrow night, Wendy's Friday Night Football, and the Eskimos should really thank the Toronto Argonauts for their ability to cross over this year. Bishop now pulls it. Joseph takes it himself. Michael Bishop will score again.
2 for 2 on the quarterback draw. Think back a year ago how many times we saw them get in this red zone. The Saskatchewan Roughriders. And they called this play for Kerry Joseph. You'll see the offensive line take their sets. Nice double team down on the nose by Abu Metric. Gets upfield, gets a block on the free safety Kenny Wheaton, and Bishop's off to the races.
I know football is a 12-man game on the field with your teammates, and we said yesterday, well, this is not going to develop into the Kerry versus Michael show, Joseph versus Bishop. Guess what? It is.
Well, it sure is. We all know in the CFL, it is a quarterback-driven game, and these two guys are proving it here tonight. Once again, you see Bishop on the quick set. Good execution by that offensive line. Everybody's looking for a block downfield. Just a play. You got to have this play in a throwing league where defenders get in a rhythm of rushing upfield. Gives you an opportunity to take advantage of their upfield momentum and run through the lanes that they create when they come up.
Michael Bishop was not on Saskatchewan's radar at the beginning of the season. They had Marcus Crandall, of course, and Darian Durant, Stephen Giles around, but Bishop became part of the Roughriders later on when it became obvious that he and Kerry Joseph could not coexist here in Toronto. And maybe what we're seeing here tonight is the reason why, and that both of these quarterbacks have very similar skill sets.
Well, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people would say they're virtually identical in terms of their skill sets. Big, strong, mobile quarterbacks who can rifle the ball. Accuracy and timing not necessarily the biggest part of their game, but so much athleticism that you can take advantage of.
He's Stokes. 2:22 to go before halftime, so Kerry Joseph, it's your turn.
Well, and to make comparisons and create competition between these two quarterbacks is something that was almost obviously going to happen because of the similarities between them. You see Kerry Joseph's numbers in this battle, 10 of 13 for 169 yards. And the big one, 3 touchdown passes already in the first half of this ball game.
Good one to watch so far in this final week of the CFL regular season. Last game for the Argos. And for the Roughriders, who will head to the playoffs, they still have to determine where they will play. Riders must win here tonight to keep their hopes of hosting the West Division semifinal alive.
Saskatchewan defensive line that's been such a big part of their success this season. That entire D really through the struggles and injuries on offense.
Joseph again. Laying out that time, Reggie McNeil. And so now the Argos, a rare 2-and-out here for Joseph in this first half, will have to kick the football away.
An opportunity for the Saskatchewan Roughriders with about 2 minutes left in the first half to try and even the score. See how they manage the clock here.
Mike Vanderjack back at his 30-yard line. Weston Dressler, the guy they used to call Mr. Electricity, the UND. Oh, and it's blocked. And the Roughriders have it. Sebastian Clovis looked like he got his hands, his mitts on the football, blocked it, and the Riders will take over with 1:57 to go at the Argo 34-yard line.
You're going to see Sebastian Clovis, number 39, just goes straight to the block point. They outnumber the Argonaut blockers to that side. He goes free. Mistake on the play by the deep back, Brian Crawford, though. You'll see he steps outside. If you've got two guys, you've always got to take the inside, the most dangerous man first.
The play by St. Mary's D-back. Bishop on the roll. Dressler, end zone, picked off. Parker again. Byron Parker with some running room. Is he going to bring it out? Dressler was wide open, and Byron Parker has his second interception of the night.
Well, this was one of those times when The Saskatchewan Roughriders needed Michael Bishop to use that rifle of his. As people have sometimes criticized him for throwing the ball too hard. Kind of needed him to throw a rope on this one to Dressler. He had the window. This one hung up just long enough. As you see Parker, he's the outside defender on this play, reacts to the ball. Great break by Parker to get there and prevent a touchdown.
Byron Parker's interception numbers, if you can call them that, have been down a little bit this year. He's picked them up here tonight. But the Argos secondary's interception numbers have been down. In fact, their defense has had a real tough time this season. There's PK Sam again. All the talk about Kerry Joseph and the offense. But let's face it, the Toronto Argonauts have given up a ton of points. It's their defense that has really let them down in a lot of games.
Well, when you think about the expectations of the Toronto Argonauts, that's so true. This is a team that for years everybody's felt like the offense has been a concern, but you could always count on the defense to help bail them out. Well, all of a sudden, Old Faithful kind of went by the wayside, and when the offense couldn't pick up the slack, it became a long season.
Jump, PK!
And that is a first down on the spot. Once again, Philip Kenwood Sam, PK Sam. His brother Lorne in the NFL in a practice roster right now with Denver. He's a quarterback at El Paso. PK was a draft pick out of New England with the Patriots. A couple of off-field things there, but did pick up a Super Bowl ring, even though he didn't play much with the Patriots. Joseph, lots of time, heaves one here looking for Bruce. It finally comes down. Kerry Joseph shows off his cannon, and that was almost caught by Arland Bruce III.
Well, this is a nice battle between Arland Bruce and the defender on that play, Tad Cornegay. Little hand fighting going on downfield. Nice job by Cornegay to get the head around, get the hand up and create a distraction. You watch Bruce's left hand, Cornegay's right hand, each one trying to prevent the other one from having two hands free to go for that ball.
Under a minute to go now before halftime. High scoring the first 2 quarters. Kerry Joseph's had good protection. Bruce, and knocked away. Arland Bruce wanted penalty flag, will not get it, and once again the Argos will try to kick this away. So the Riders will get the ball back with a chance to put some points on the board before halftime.
Well, Saskatchewan brings a free safety. Scott Gordon on the blitz on that play. The Argos elect to try and take a shot downfield. Might have had a better opportunity had they had a route attacking the middle of the field a little bit more with Gordon out of there. Instead, it ends up being a ball to the outside. The pass that you could argue was forced a little bit.
Last time the kick was blocked, of course. Expect some better protection this time for Mike Vanderjack. Big kick. Dressler. And he is down at his 30-yard line. 40 seconds to go before we send you to our guys in the studio. They're all getting their playoff faces on, I'm sure. Around the corner, Rona at the half. Boys standing by to talk about this and what lies ahead in this final weekend of the season. The only intrigue, of course, is who will host that West Division semifinal game. And also some individual stuff on the line. Receiving yardage marks, rushing title. Bishop again over the middle. Andy Fantuz with a handful of catches so far here tonight. Do you worry sometimes this time of the year as a player, as a coach, as a team that you think about those individual awards, and they are important in the grand scheme of things, that they might come before the team things?
Usually those individual marks come as part of helping the team win, and so that's what you focus on. Individual success usually comes with team success.
Big collision down there with Neil Hughes. At the same time, though, you'd like to get your players those honors. I know guys will kind of deflect it and say, hey, no. But, it's a nice little trophy or plaque that you might get, something to put in your resume.
Yeah, it's certainly nice for the players to have those things and the memories and so on, but it's not just lip service when players say they trade any of those individual titles, so to speak, for a championship ring, because any player would.
Well, that should have been an interception by Adrian Mays, one of the linebackers here for the Argos, right in his paws.
Well, Mays gets good depth in his drop from his linebacker spot and is underneath that in route. Michael Bishop clearly didn't expect him to be quite so deep.
Again, Rough Rider quarterbacks have had a rough ride the last few weeks, throwing interceptions. Bishop has thrown a couple here tonight. 11 interceptions over the last 4 games. Penalty flag on the play. And off target for Rob Bagg on the sideline.
And I suspect this is going to be one of the Saskatchewan receivers, maybe Chris Getzlaff, who was a little early in his motion on this play.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 89. Penalty is declined. 3rd down.
You see Getzlaff, the first to cross that line. Young man who's played very well for this Saskatchewan team, though. Finally getting an opportunity, a former Hamilton Tiger Cat draft choice. Who was part of the Corey Holmes trade a year ago.
Jason Armstead. Getzlaff, brother Stanley Cup champion with the Anaheim Ducks. Ryan. Final play, first half. Bishop down the sideline again. And incomplete. Not too often in this losing streak have the Argos had the lead heading to the locker room, but that's what they have here tonight. Trying to play the spoiler role. We'll be back with the Joseph Bishop Show. Halftime's next.
Live at the Half is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
Well, full marks to the Toronto Argonauts, trying to go out on a winning note against the defending champs at 24-17 at the half. Dave and Jock and Matt and Chris. The Saskatchewan Roughriders kind of not looking like themselves. It's the team that scored 55 points and could do no wrong a week ago at home against the Edmonton Eskimos. But boys, we'll start with the Eskimos tonight. We'll get into the Argos, but let's start with the team that is going to the playoffs and look at the things they're doing wrong. You know, an illegal substitution penalty, offside and a field goal, red zone issues, and they've given up 24 points to a team that averages 20 over the course of the game.
David was very proud, by the way, guys, of putting that little lineup of things.
Little package.
Things he noticed.
Is this what happened when I went away? He just goes crazy?
You go away for a game, and he decides he's an analyst.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that.
We've had to keep him down, though. Good point, David.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I do listen and watch the game.
It's good.
Answer the question.
Was there a question?
There really wasn't, actually.
You rarely ask me a question.
It was just an
statements.
observation.
No, good observations. Here's what I'm seeing defensively. Look at this shaking his head. Okay, we'll just talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing defensively, this Rider football team has actually an incredible ability to fly around. These linebacking core, you notice them every game when they're at home. For some reason, when they're on the road, you don't notice these guys being as fierce and as aggressive. So that's what I'm seeing defensively. Offensively, here's what I want to throw out there: 2 picks by Bishop. What do you think? Is he getting pulled? I mean, this is what you normally see from the coaching staff of Saskatchewan.
First was not his fault. Ball's thrown errantly because he is hitting the back by Kenny Wheat. And then this one here, that ball should have never been thrown. If it was, you need to be 10 yards further, obviously, in the end zone. Yeah, so, you know, hey.
So is he getting pulled? What do you think?
Schulte, what do you think?
Oh, God, let him work through it.
Yeah.
Let him work through it.
Yes,
dude,
it's
the
week
playoffs
18.
are coming up. You got to go with something.
Yeah.
There comes a time you got to commit.
I'm with you. He's right now. Bishop's my guy for the playoffs. If you pull him and you go with somebody else in the second half, who's your quarterback in the playoffs?
I can tell you what he's doing though. As the first half went on, Michael started locking into receivers and not reading defenses, and now you start seeing him trying to strong arm balls in there because he's already locked into a target. He needs to settle down and get his eyes right and start reading the defense once again.
What about the Argonauts? This is a team that took some words to heart from Don Matthews, and they are not going to be the same team at all a year from now when the 2009 regular season begins. So what do you think of their performance tonight and some of the guys that may or may not be around?
Well, we've picked some guys, haven't we, Matty, that we think will be around?
But overall, I think the Argonauts are playing with some confidence and team speed. Schultz, you know how important it is.
Yes.
So here's, the first guy, this is their playmaker. This is a guy that they need year in, year out, and that's Bruce. He'll be back.
And Andre Talbot, come on. This guy's money. That's great play on both ends. Talbot gives him a go-to guy, and whether it was Bishop last year or Joseph this year, he's money. And Jamal Robertson, where has this guy been all season? In the last 4 weeks, give him the ball, and he's going to make things happen. Forget Tyler Ebel. This guy's your future right now.
Yeah, PK Sam's the guy I really have noticed. I mean, he's had 30 catches in a mere 6 games. For a rookie, that is unheard of, and he is a huge part of this offense. I hope to see him back. Schultz, you got a few that you don't think will be back?
Well, those are guys whose career is going to go on and on. They're going to play some more football, but let's face facts. There's going to be some Argonaut players that are not going to be back next year, and I want to mention them in a very respectful way. How about the center? Chad Folk. He has played with 2 ACL reconstructive injuries. Jude St. John, Kenny Wheaton, also Chuck Winters. He has played some outstanding football. Michael Fletcher, great guys on the football field, even better guys off the football field. But my number one guy that deserves some respect and some recognition is Mike O'Shea at the linebacker position. This is a warrior mentality guy that trains exceptionally hard off the football field to make sure that he is ready to go each and every year on the football field. But here's reality. He's closer to 40 than he is to 30. Now, if you have a middle linebacker of that age, the experience is one thing, but this still is a gain for young people. But look at the accomplishment. 1,148 tackles, second in CFL history. Folks, that's 1,148 mini collisions. If you've ever been in a collision in a car, and I've had a few in my life, believe me, they're a shot. So you got to look at Mike O'Shea and really wonder whether he's back next year. Will he be? I doubt it sincerely, but respect to you, Mike. You've had a heck of a career.
Certainly has. From North Bay, Ontario, played at Guelph, and originally a draft pick of the Edmonton Eskimos. Do you see him with the smelling salts, by the way?
More research, yes.
Do you see that? How bad is that anyway? Is that stuff bad?
I've been there, done that.
Wakes you up.
Gets you going. Back in a second.
Wide open for the touchdown! Arland Bruce.
Who are these guys?
Michael Bishop will score on the keeper. Looks for the end zone. Touchdown.
Well, the last Friday night football game of the season has Montreal at Commonwealth Stadium to take on the Eskimos, a team trying to pick up the pieces after being annihilated last week by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We will be on the air with a pregame show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Here are the halftime numbers for this game, brought to you by Tim Hortons, always fresh. Matt?
Thank you, Dave. Check it out. Right here, 2 turnovers. Jack and I talked about it there at the half. It leads to 7 points, which is the difference in this ball game. Look at that, Dave. The last I heard, 17 minus 24, that's a 7-point difference right there.
Excellent math. Let's see what Don Matthews had to say to our Claude Fig.
Don Matthews, your team obviously took their words to heart that you gave them about trying to go out on top here with the existing group you have in the room today.
Well, they played a good first half. We surely disappointed on that long pass interference. We got to stop giving up penalties and stop giving gifts to the other team.
And you got to be excited about the way Kerry Joseph's throwing the ball today.
Yeah, he's really on fire. He's been coming on the last few weeks and continuing tonight.
All right, Coach. Good luck in the second half. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just doesn't look right. 0-7 underneath Don Matthews' name, does it? But they are trying to push some changes in Toronto. Jennifer Hedger is here with a Sports Center update. Busy night in the National Hockey League. What, 12 games?
We have a full dozen games on the schedule tonight, Dan. You are correct.
I'm Dave, actually. Yeah.
I was looking at you and I was thinking Dan O'Toole.
Yeah, hey.
Kind of the same size? No.
Nice to meet you.
I'm so dead.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm so dead. Just roll the highlights. Brothers, Koivu brothers, Mikko, Saku. Randorf is going to kill me. First period, Wild leading 1-0. Francis Bouillon lets one go through a screen, beats Josh Harding. That tied it at 1. It's now 2-1 Montreal. Sens and Panthers sends 2 men down in the first. Keith Ballard wires one past a screen to Alex Auld is second, and a Panthers uni makes it 1-0 Florida. That's where it stands after 2. And after finally getting his first NHL point Tuesday against the Leafs, look at who is. Steve Stamkos lighting it up against the Sabres. This is his second goal of the night. He also has an assist as Tampa leads Buffalo 5-2 in the third. Dave, will you ever forgive me?
No problem, Holly.
Nothing?
It's forgotten.
I deserve it. I deserve it. Watch SportsCenter, people. Watch SportsCenter.
We love you, Jen.
Back in Toronto, TSN, exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League, crowd home of the Grey Cup, to be held in Montreal November 23rd. Argos leading 24-17 heading to the third quarter. A moment ago, Claude Feg caught up with Saskatchewan head coach Ken Miller.
Well, Coach, unfortunately, you've seen this movie before, only in Saskatchewan from Kerry Joseph. Are you surprised how well he's done here tonight?
Well, he played very, very well, particularly really early.
So what does your team do to adjust in the second half?
Well, the thing we have to do is we have to play with better intensity. We came out a little bit flat for whatever reason. We feel that effort is our edge, and we really didn't have it at the beginning of the game. So we need to play with greater effort and greater poise.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, Rod, all season long it's been about comparisons between Michael Bishop and Kerry Joseph. The way these two guys played in the first half, those comparisons aren't going to stop anytime soon. Both of these guys red hot. Kerry Joseph throwing the football for 3 touchdowns, great accuracy. Michael Bishop using his athleticism, those legs, a couple of touchdown runs. Here we see the second quarterback draw from Bishop. We've got ourselves a ball game heading into the third quarter, 24-17, the Argos lead.
James Johnson on, again, another line drive kick from Mike Vanderjack. Tough to handle. So Michael Bishop will come out for this second half. Let's take a look at the numbers. The big number, the 2 picks thrown by Michael Bishop. Now, lately, Ken Miller has been prone after his quarterback has thrown an interception or 2 to go to his bullpen.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing here is exactly what the guys on the panel talked about at halftime, is there is a need going into the playoffs to have some stability, some continuity. You can't have guys looking over their shoulders all the time. Let Michael Bishop play, let him develop a little bit of confidence. Maybe Ken Miller's giving him a little bit longer leash here in the season finale.
Stu Ford with his first touch here tonight in his first season in the Canadian Football League. The rookie, former junior player and high school star in Regina.
And Stu Ford may get a few more touches here as the Saskatchewan Roughriders want to make sure that Wes Cates is 100% heading into the playoffs. Ford has been very productive when given the opportunity. You see his numbers on the season, averaging over 5 yards a carry.
Bishop, Dressler, another catch here tonight. And I guess there's a fine line right now for the Riders. Yes, victory is paramount here tonight to try to secure a home date for the playoffs, but at the same time, you don't want to risk injury with your key starters.
Well, it's so true. You do try to find that balance. And the most important thing really is having all your weapons healthy, and particularly for this Saskatchewan team that has battled injuries at every skill position offensively and every position offensively, even along that O-line.
Mike O'Shea. We heard Chris Schultz in a tribute to Mike O'Shea at halftime talk about what he has done. The all-time leader in tackles for Canadian-born players. He's a future Hall of Famer. Do you think this is it? Is the sun setting here tonight?
Well, as much as I suspect Mike O'Shea would love to keep playing football, because this is a guy who was just born to play the game, as the Toronto Argonauts look to move forward, there will likely be a change at that middle linebacker spot, and we've seen the transition begin a little bit here in the final third of this season.
And another interception. Willie Pyle has it. The third pick of the night by the ex-Argo quarterback. Interceptions galore the last few weeks, and the Argos have the ball again. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Nissan's Make the Call. Play on cfl.nissan.ca for your chance to win a trip to the Grey Cup.
Well, one of the trends that you'll find defensively in the Canadian Football League is to give that double safety look, and that's exactly how Willie Pyle, where he rotated from his linebacker spot to make a play on that last interception.
Jamal Robertson has running room on the left side after reversing field, and he has another first down. Jamal Robertson putting on a show on the ground, but the Argos secondary, the biggest show here tonight, 3 picks.
Well, and I mentioned that look they give. There's the one safety, Kenny Wheaton. Number 2, Willie Pyle, normally the Sam linebacker, is going to rotate and play deep as a second safety. Drops back in that coverage. He ends up there to help out on that route, attempted corner route to Andy Fantuz, steps underneath the route, create the turnover.
Joseph out of cover, and Reggie McNeil takes a lick, but he hangs on to the football. McNeil makes the signal that it is a first down indeed. Kerry Joseph has shown some elusiveness here tonight.
Well, he's gotten on the move a little bit. They've got that running game going, and that buys a little bit of time with the, as you see him with the run fake to Robertson. But Kerry Joseph just a little more active than we've seen him in the pocket throughout this season. Becomes a very tough guy to defend when he's on the move.
Robertson off the right side and hit hard by Anton McKenzie. Sean Lucas in on the initial contact.
That Saskatchewan Roughrider linebacking core continues to impress. Sean Lucas fights off the straight arm from Jamal Robertson. Anton McKenzie ranges all the way across that formation from his weak side spot to get over there and help out his wingman on the tackle.
So it will be second and about 9.5 yards. Throwing down now for Joseph. He has 6 receivers out. Argos look to pad their lead. PK Sam depends on the spot here, but it looks like it could be a first down. They might be able to move the chains again.
Nice job here to create a throwing lane by the left tackle, Jerome Davis. He's working on number 46, the DN, Kitwana Jones. Davis cuts him down. That gets his hands down, gives Kerry Joseph an opening. He doesn't have to throw through raised arms or look over a defender's head to know exactly where he's throwing that football to try and pick out his receiver downfield. Nice job by Davis. Big part of the execution of that play. Little things make a difference. We've talked about detail in the past.
Don Matthews saw how far his team needs to go. They will go for it here. 3rd and about a foot. Robertson in the backfield. Joseph goes left side, and he has the first down.
Kerry Joseph, instead of being predictable here, as everybody pinches down to the middle. Crashing towards the center, Kerry Joseph slips to the outside. Path of least resistance.
Much more confident Kerry Joseph over the last couple of weeks. Even though the Argos lost handily last week in BC, Joseph has looked, again, like the Joseph we saw last year in Saskatchewan. Starting to come around. Play action again. In trouble. Dodges one. And into the end zone for another touchdown. Andre Talbot. Another escape act by Kerry Joseph.
Well, and what you're seeing from Kerry Joseph here tonight that we've seen flashes of over the last few weeks are those tools around which you can build. Kerry Joseph is going to start out on a roll to the right. He gets cut off by the middle linebacker, Maurice Lloyd, who's in that jet position, lined up to the end of the line. He contains him. Joseph, instead of forcing it, keeps the eyes downfield as he doubles back, manages to find Andre Talbot, rolling in the same direction as his quarterback. An easy touchdown catch.
Well, under the heading, who would have thunk? The Argos leading 31-17. Number 1 next year, not this year. Andre Talbot has matched his season total tonight at 2 touchdowns going into this game all season, and it has 2 here tonight, both from Kerry Joseph. Running room here for Weston Dressler. Bursting outside, Dressler midfield and into Argo territory. Mr. Electricity does it again.
Good response from the Saskatchewan Roughriders kickoff return team to try and grab the momentum back in this game. Weston Dressler bounces this one to the outside. The Argos allow themselves to lose leverage on the play. They don't take very good pursuit angles. The speed of Weston Dressler puts the Riders in Argo territory, the 45-yard line to start this drive.
23-year-old out of Bismarck, North Dakota. Neil Hughes now gets the carry. And in the Bismarck newspapers these days, something they haven't seen over the last few years, CFL standings as they follow the fortunes of their local lad.
Well, you see Dressler's numbers on the season. This is a guy who was supposed to be just a kick returner, maybe play as a 5th and 6th receiver occasionally. But when the likes of Andy Fantus, Matt Dominguez, DJ Flick went down early in the season, this rookie quickly found himself as the go-to guy, and he has been more than up to the challenge.
There's a counter play, and Hughes bowls for the first down. Dressler, what a season he's had, his inaugural one in the Canadian Football League.
Well, he just offers so many weapons, the biggest one being his speed, but there's toughness, there's that elusivity in the open field. And obviously, the part that gets overlooked, his intelligence to make the adaptation to the CFL game as a rookie and have the impact that he has had, virtually unheard of. You see his combined yards on the season, all-purpose yards, over 2,000 coming into this game.
DJ Fleck, again, his first game back after missing so many out since week number 2. DJ Fleck, the former Ottawa Renegade and Hamilton Tiger Cat, became a Grey Cup champion last year.
Good for the for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I was thinking of all those former Ticats that were on this team a year ago, but DJ Flick, timing of getting him back for a regular season game before the playoffs, pretty meaningful to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Give him a chance to see exactly where he's at health-wise before they get into the postseason.
Very quick play out of the huddle there. Interesting for Bishop to move up to scrimmage quickly and get that first down, but the Rider receivers, great aerial attack that they have been able to brandish despite having so many quarterbacks in and out of the lineup. They've gone with 4 quarterbacks at various times this year. Weston Dressler, a big part of it. Matt Dominguez not in the lineup tonight. Swelling around his knee. Hughes again. Another one of the Regina natives.
Well, you talk about all the changes at quarterback over the course of the year. You also have to talk about all the changes to that receiving corps. You see Neil Hughes.
That's Stu Ford.
Stu Ford on that occasion. The couple of local products for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, couple of Regina boys, Hughes and Ford. But these guys have started no less than 15 different receivers this season. Could make for a fascinating training camp next year when you've got that many guys with experience battling for jobs.
Bishop fires and again picked off by Willie Pyle. So Byron Parker has a pair, and now Willie Pyle also a pair of picks here tonight. The 4th interception thrown by Michael Bishop. Last season, the Saskatchewan Roughriders threw up 13 interceptions. This year already 28 and 13 in their last 4 games.
Well, and this one is just a bad read by the quarterback, Michael Bishop. He's got double in routes coming from his 2 slot backs on the left side of the formation. You're going to see Bishop overthrows that short route or overlooks that short route to throw the deep route. Might have had a better opportunity to hit Chris Getzlaff underneath.
Joseph again hangs in. Coming back to the ball was Arlan Bruce, and should he get the spot here, it might be just a little bit shy of a first down.
And we see Kerry Joseph sending a bit of a message here this evening, perhaps, as he's clearly winning this duel. with his former teammate / competitor, Michael Bishop.
The Argos looking like a team that was going to the playoffs with some momentum tonight, not destined for cleaning out their lockers tomorrow. And again, I'm sure some of the frustrated Argo fans probably wonder why they haven't been able to see this lately. Maybe it was extra motivation tonight for Kerry Joseph. An 8-game losing slide. And it has been a season of futility here in TO. Under 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. Incomplete this time for Bruce.
Well, for Kerry Joseph, there wasn't a case of sour grapes for him leaving Saskatchewan, but clearly the opposition provides a little bit of motivation for him tonight, playing against his former team, and a team that essentially said to him, we can win and we can be successful without you. You're replaceable, you're disposable to us. And for Kerry Joseph, he'd like to prove them wrong.
At the time they felt that Marcus Crandall was capable, and Crandall no longer with the team. Talbot again. Andre Talbot's had a good night here. Then Darian Durant came in, and then Bishop the trade, and Stephen Giles got a shot. Looks like they're going to go with Michael Bishop despite his 4 picks here tonight as they head towards the postseason.
Well, and they do need some continuity. It'll be interesting though if his struggles continue here in the second half. Again, it was understandable that they would stay with Bishop after the half. Try and let him generate some momentum, build his confidence. And certainly one of those interceptions, the first one where he was hit as he threw the ball, was something that he couldn't be blamed for.
Joseph has to throw this one away, and the interceptions also, a couple of those interceptions as he was also marching the football, so going for Pater.
Well, and those are the exact situations in previous weeks that have driven Ken Miller a little bit batty, not just with Michael Bishop, but with all of his quarterbacks, making bad decisions in critical positions and situations on the field.
Six receivers set. Second down. Another quick fire and almost had that picked off.
Look, Andre Talbot, the intended receiver on this play, takes the post. Finds himself running into some traffic there. Passed up the opportunity to find himself on the receiving end of a big hit from Sean Lucas on that one.
Well, Mike Vanderjack will come out and back to receive the kick. A guy who was a star the last time he played here at Rogers Center. That was the Grey Cup last November. He was the MVP of the game. James Johnson with 3 interceptions and a touchdown. Getting a lot of time on returns. Said he wants to take one back. Johnson dropped at the 43-yard line. 31-17 Toronto. We'll come back after this. Well, as always, we thank the great folks at Purolator, longtime supporter of the Canadian Football League, donating the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. Only 1 sack tonight by Eddie Davis. So Saskatchewan now with 28 sacks on the total.
Bumping themselves 1 up on the Toronto Argonauts.
And somebody jumped here. Let's go down to the sideline once again and join Claude.
Well, guys, after throwing that last pick, Michael Bishop came off the field right to Ken Miller. Now, Ken Miller, kind of a laid-back kind of guy, took it all in, whatever Michael said to him. I think his main complaint was where the guys that he's trying to throw the ball to were running their routes. And then he got on the phone, had a lengthy conversation with the O coordinator upstairs, and has some players come to him for a little bit of comfort, I suppose, but he's back out there, and Miller made no gesture to either one of his backups to warm up.
Paul Lapolice, who at one time was an assistant with the Toronto Argonauts, upstairs. See if this rights the ship now for the Roughriders. Once again, Stu Ford has his number called, and so Wes Cates, it appears, not seeing much action here in the second half, and it looks like a rushing title will go to Joffrey Reynolds this year. Again, Calgary and BC will go on Saturday. And the BC Lions right now are liking this score. As they watch this one tonight, a Saskatchewan loss would mean that game would be inconsequential on Saturday. Lions would secure second place in a home date in the West Division semifinal, as Stu Ford looks banged up.
One of the big keys for the BC Lions, should the Saskatchewan Roughriders fail to come back in this football game, would be that it would provide Wally Buono and his coaching staff some clarity going into their matchup in terms of how they want to use their players as well. You see the head-to-head between those two teams, though, as we know that they will meet a week from now. It's been a great rivalry between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and BC Lions over about the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, not a provincial rivalry by any stretch, but boy, they've played some excellent football games, heart-pounding games, and Saskatchewan getting one up on the Lions last year. And Roughriders would love that home playoff date.
The Roughriders and all of their fans, of course.
Again, it talked about the financial implications, but also the Roughriders finally getting a home playoff date last year. First time in a long time. Scott Schultz knows the importance.
Oh, I mean, to give that to our fans would be tremendous. And, you know, 12-6, I mean, you'd think it'd be enough to get a home playoff and all that, but it's just funny sometimes how the CFL works these things out, and we played an ultra-competitive conference, and we should have took care of things better at home, but it sucks when you have to wait and see, but we're going to do all in our power to make it happen.
They have to get the W here tonight. Michael Bishop. Penalty marker. No penalty marker on the play. That was Rob Bagg with the catch. Oh, there is a penalty marker on the play on the far side.
Offside, Saskatchewan number 89. 5-yard penalty.
Chris
Repeat,
Getzlaff.
second down.
Offside here.
Well, it has to be some frustration for Saskatchewan head coach Ken Miller, hoping that this would be not necessarily simply a tune-up for his team heading into the playoffs, but you always like to peak going into the playoffs. You want to know that your team is playing well and building some confidence. And that's not happening for the green and white tonight.
Play action, Fantuz, nice grab over the shoulder and a first down.
That's a nice basketball-style pick-and-roll play between Michael Bishop and Andy Fantuz. Fantuz comes in for a little chip block on the outside, rolls. Bishop just lobs it over the top to the lanky receiver for a quick hitter here.
6 catches for 74 yards. Bishop trying to protect the football here. 1.5 minutes to go, third quarter. Again, play action with the roll. Far sideline, Getzlaff knows he should have had that.
He sure does. That's one where Chris Getzlaff, in terms of fundamentals, just needs to get his hands turned around instead of trying to make the basket catch here. Turn the hands so his thumbs are together, so he's in a little bit stronger position to catch that football.
So a second down play here. Roughriders still very much in this, down 14. They have not lost to the Argos here in Toronto since 2005. That's some magic here. Bishop. Out of trouble and has to throw it out of bounds. No one open on the play. Richard Siegler picking him up. Actually, Ronald Fleming's picking him up.
Well, Mike O'Shea, the middle linebacker, still showing he can get it done. Starts off in coverage on Weston Dressler on the crossing route. Reacts to the scramble by Bishop. He's the guy who comes up and forces the play.
Jamie Borum back to punt. Much better to kick indoors this week. He was telling us before the game last week, those 80-kilometer-an-hour winds in Regina. So the Argos will scrimmage there with 51 seconds to go in the third quarter. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. 28,654 here tonight. Last time these Argo fans, although there are a lot of Rough Rider fans here, there are in a lot of stadiums across Canada. Some making the trek from Regina. This is up for grabs. Steve Schmidt, the intended target.
Sean Lucas, the man who's over to make the play on that one. Lucas, a strong side linebacker, number 31. Gets out in coverage. Gets that left arm across. Tipped the ball from his receiver.
Joseph again. Nowhere to go, nowhere to throw. Now into traffic, and Bruce almost came up with an acrobatic catch.
Kerry Joseph a little bit slow to get up after taking a shot on that play. But again, we see the scramble. Nice blitz pickup by number 81, Steve Schmidt, to come down from the outside and pick up the safety. Joseph bounces it out. Bruce goes up, just unable to finish the deal.
Mike Vanderjack now back in his end zone. Likely will give up the deuce here. Last play of the third quarter, barring penalty. Decides to kick it. Dressler. And that's the final play of the third quarter when the Riders come back. And when we come back, they'll be in Argo territory. Well, you see the score and you see the points off turnovers. That's the key in this game. After three quarters, numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
And you talk about that number, points off turnovers being the margin in this football game. This has been the Saskatchewan Roughriders' Achilles heel at times when they have struggled this season. A team that was plus 16 in that giveaway takeaway ratio last year. That gap's been closed. They came into this game at just a +2, and obviously they're now a minus football team, but it's affecting them in this game as it has affected them over the course of this season relative to 2007.
The Argonauts coming out looking like a playoff team here tonight, but again, quarterback question marks surrounding the Saskatchewan Roughriders and those interceptions, which have been a problem. But the Roughriders have a quarter right now to try to get the W and keep their hopes alive of hosting the West Division semifinal. Michael Bishop, after Mike Vanderjack decided to kick the ball out, Bishop will easily get the first down. Obviously, the Argos were looking at the points and decided to kick it out. Let's go down to Claude Fegg once again on the sideline. Claude.
Well, Rod, the running back question for the Rough Riders is, where's Wes Cates? Well, we've been told by the medical staff here that he may have re-aggravated a high ankle sprain that he suffered earlier in the season that he had been trying to nurse back to health. So it sounds like they're not taking any chances with him because he is back in the locker room. Not expected back in this one tonight.
Thank you, Wes Cates. Again, obviously the rushing title a moot point now, but Wes Cates probably would have sealed the rushing title long ago if he didn't have that high ankle sprain. He missed 3 games. See Stu Ford in the backfield now, getting a chance to play now in this second half. And they're just going to be a few inches shy. Whether it's precautionary or not, if they are missing Wes Cates, they miss a lot.
Yeah, you take him out, that is a huge chunk of their offense. And when you think back to the great start the Saskatchewan Roughriders had to this season, remember all the flurry of injuries, and through it all, Saskatchewan was able to keep winning ball games. That guy, number 20, Wes Cates, was the single biggest reason for that win streak.
And they rolled off a number. They were undefeated early on, and then injuries caught up with Ken Miller and the Riders. Now 2nd down and inches. Bishop keeps and will have the 1st down.
You know, you look back, and if not for Wes Cates putting this team on his shoulders and carrying them for a few weeks, this might be a team battling for a playoff spot. That quick start has carried them through some of the troubled times, most of which have been health-related, quite frankly. You just had a sense early on that eventually those injuries were going to catch up to this team, and they did a little bit. Starting to get a few bodies back. They want to make sure, though, that they have Wes Cates as close to 100% as they can for BC next week.
Quick hitter on the right side for Andy Fantus. 263 times they've had a name on an injured list this season. That's a lot for this team. Amazing that the Roughriders have been able to conquer such adversity.
Well, it really is, and a testament to the coaching of Ken Miller and his staff. The job done by general manager Eric Tillman and his scouts, getting out and finding players, not just for training camp. I mean, at the start of the year with the injuries, they were dealing with guys.
Stu Ford takes it to the house.
As I was going to say, guys like Stu Ford, who were with the team from the start of training camp, who were able to jump in. Along the way, also having to bring in many others. You see a nice job here at the point of attack. We're going to get Jonathan Brown blocked out on the play and then get everything else sealed to the inside. Stu Ford just takes this off tackle. Nice kick out by his fullback, Chris Zarka, on the linebacker, Adrian Mays. Stu Ford goes in untouched.
What a terrific story. The local boy, Stu Ford. They've been chanting Stu in Regina and probably are again tonight. Riders right back in it early in the 4th quarter, trailing by 7. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by CFL All-Star Voting. On now. Go to futureshop.ca/all-star. Vote for your favorite player today. Talk about a guy living the dream. Stu Ford signed as a free agent in June. His 3rd touchdown as a Rough Rider. And Saskatchewan down 31-24. Must-win night for this team if they want to host a playoff date next weekend. And Stokes fumbles the football. It's loose. Saskatchewan has it. James Patrick. And now the Toronto Argonauts are looking like the Argos we've seen over the last 8 games.
Well, you talk about giving a team a short field with which to work. That's the case here. Keith Stokes starts up behind his wall, but then gets out on his own. Anton McKenzie, as he's done all year, nose for the football, makes a play, pops this one up in the air. It looks like James Patrick is the man who comes up with the ball. He tried to scoop and run.
And the guy in the middle of it again was Stu Ford. Little hitch pass for Dressler. Weston Dressler to the 5. Stu Ford with his 3rd touchdown. Again, 5 years in the Canadian Junior Football League. The Regina Thunder, touchdown for him again. There he is on the sideline.
And the CJFL has become a real legitimate source of talent for the CFL, and Stu Ford, just the latest guy making that point.
First and goal. Neil Hughes dodges one, dusts another. Touchdown. Well, the Regina boys.
What a run by Neil Hughes.
You like that stuff, eh, fullback?
Oh, listen, this guy has been called upon to fill in at fullback for much of the year. Did that like a stud, now getting asked to play tailback. Doesn't look like a backup at all. How about that cut on Adrian Mays, and then just dropped his shoulder and fights right through Willie Middlebrooks to get to the end zone.
His 6th touchdown. How about the local Regina guys contributing here in this 4th quarter? The Roughriders have tied the game quickly. Neil Hughes strikes. The Roughriders strike with 2 touchdowns in the span of a minute 22.
And after the 2 runs we saw, I think Eric Tillman might be able to trim his scouting budget. Never has to leave the city if he finds guys like Neil Hughes and Stu Ford in town.
Well, the Roughriders have been team comeback all year because of the adversity they faced, and in this game they've come all the way back to tie at 31. Stokes hangs on to the football this time. Costly turnover led to that 2nd touchdown, but let's take a look at what's happened here in the 4th quarter early.
Well, Chris Schultz likes to talk about that sudden change created by turnovers. The Saskatchewan Roughriders felt that sudden change in momentum and took advantage of it. The offensive line leading the way, opening up holes for their 2 substitute tailbacks.
Guys who do a lot of work on the special teams, both out of Regina.
Two of the many super subs for the Saskatchewan Roughriders this season.
Neil Hughes, who played at the University of Regina with the Rams. He's played with the Roughriders the last couple of years. Stu Ford, a part of the junior program in Regina. In the heartland of the prairies. Great scene at night downtown Toronto. President's Choice Raptors basketball. The Raptors coming off a win in Philadelphia last night before they went crazy in Philly after they won the World Series. Milwaukee will have the broadcast for you. TSN, your home of Raptor basketball this season, 45 games in total. They will have to kick again after that penalty. Stokes back again. Borum to re-kick. Find an alley here and will not get that gap. And Kerry Joseph trying to answer back again after such a terrific start tonight. The second half has not achieved those numbers.
Well, Kerry Joseph needs to rediscover some of that first half magic where it seemed like he just couldn't miss. It's the time where the Argos may look to throw the deep ball, as much as that may seem like a drastic move. Big play would be kind of a nice thing for this team to try and turn the tide a little bit. Don Matthews noted throughout his career to be an aggressive coach.
We had an interesting conversation with Matthews yesterday. Still no word on whether he will be the head coach next year. We talked with Michael Clemens before the game, the president of this ball club, kind of under fire the last few days. Clemens and Adam Rita and a lot of people accepting blame, taking blame, and some finger pointing going on. And that happens around teams that lose a lot. But Don Matthews doesn't know if he'll be back. We asked Pinball before the game whether, you know, they've made a decision. They will make all their decisions next week.
Yeah, they'll meet for the first time early next week and figure out in exactly what direction this ball club is headed. The only certain thing is that there will be changes, and a number of them throughout this organization on and off the field. Consider the expectations for this team have been so high over the last couple of seasons. Had an opportunity where many felt that they would be hosting the Grey Cup, playing in that game in their own building last year. Defeated by Winnipeg in the East Final. High hopes again this year that they've fallen far short of.
Arlen Bruce with a spectacular grab on the sideline as he soars high into the air.
Well, these are the kind of plays that can turn that momentum exactly the way the Argos are looking for. Arlen Bruce lines up as the outside receiver in this formation. Sells that he's going to go deep by coming out hard and just breaks it to the sidelines. Tremendous leap. Comes down inbounds with the ball. Nice concentration from Bruce.
11 minutes to go, fourth quarter. Talbot, half the first down yardage before he's pushed to the sideline by James Johnson.
Not a lot of running room there for Andre Talbot by the time that ball gets all the way out to the wide side of the field. Real long throw to pick up about 4.5 yards.
Argos trailing big last week. BC fought back. This week scored on their opening drive. Now Joseph ducks and gets it off, and Kerry Joseph should have been sacked. Maurice Lloyd cannot believe that he did not bring down Kerry Joseph.
Well, Maurice Lloyd saw this from Joseph a number of times last season. Lloyd is going to come free right up the middle on the blitz, unblocked on the play. Argos have got to get the center, Chad Folk, bouncing back to him in that protection. Folk slides a little bit too far, doesn't redirect. Kerry Joseph, as he's done many times tonight, avoids the tackle and makes a play as a result.
Looked like Houdini here tonight, escaping a few times against his old mates. Maybe Kerry Joseph needed to play against the Saskatchewan Roughriders a little more this season.
Well, that's certainly the way it seems with his performance here tonight. Maybe just need a little bit of green and white around him so we could have some flashbacks to last season.
Second down now. 7 yards to go. PK Sam will be held short of the first down by a yard and a half.
Well, yet again, the Riders brought that free safety blitz. Scott Gordon crept down low, trying to time it up. Did a good job with the timing on that one, but Jamal Robertson picked him up. Kerry Joseph recognized it and got his throw out of there in time.
Well, the big guys are coming out here. There's Richie Hall, the defensive coordinator. He was, at the beginning of the season, one of the candidates for the head coaching job that eventually went to Ken Miller. And look at this, 3rd and 1 here. Kerry Joseph stepping back and counting bodies here. PK Sam has to leave the field. One too many.
The Argos fortunate to get that substitution done in time.
The handoff. Robertson has the first down. Another former Rider on 3rd, and it was almost 3rd and 2 yards.
Well, Robertson hits this one. Watch the low center of gravity. Gets his pad level low, and watch the legs keep driving through contact here. Nice effort in short yardage.
Joseph on a good play action. The Riders leaning the other way. The numbers again The Argos have lost 8 in a row, 5 in a row at home, and during this losing streak have underachieved in fourth quarters.
Well, they sure have. Fourth quarter, you see the number, outscored 97-42 during the fourth quarter of their last 9 games. A trend they hope to put an end to here.
Hard to believe that after Don Matthews came here with so much celebrated fanfare, the Argos would be sitting here in the final game of the season wondering if they finally get a win for Matthews. Another first down here. Jamal Robertson carries a couple of linebackers on his back.
Well, this run is all Jamal Robertson. And again, that powerful leg drive, low center of gravity. You see a couple of spin moves here. Nice read to bounce that one back. Fights off Anton McKenzie. You see him at the end drag a few white jerseys. Pick up the first down.
Into the red zone. Go the Argos. 7 minutes to go. Fourth quarter. All square at 31. Robertson again, this time left side. Jamal Robertson. These are addition games for next year. Jamal Robertson has certainly gone a long way to earning a job here in Toronto.
Well, Robertson has shown great burst and seems to become a little bit more confident with every game in which he is the Argos feature back here in the absence of Dominic Dorsey. Robertson was acquired from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, you'll recall, during training camp after Tyler Ebel, who was expected to be the Argos starting running back, went down with that Achilles injury that's kept him out the entire season. Robertson, there you see Dominic Dorsey, the Argos nominee for most outstanding player.
Joseph to the end zone. Bullseye. Touchdown. Reggie McNeil. And the Argos take the lead again.
Well, you talk about a quarterback threading the needle. Kerry Joseph does it on this one. This ball is close to being picked off right at the goal line. So you'll see the defender leap for it just over the outstretched hands. Reggie McNeil goes to the ground and comes up with a play for his quarterback. How huge is this drive from the Toronto Argonauts?
Kerry Joseph with another touchdown toss. And now the Roughriders will try to answer. Well, the Argos are going out with some bang here tonight. Game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
Kerry Joseph, a big part of that game story. 5 touchdown passes. The Argos intercepting 4 passes themselves against their former quarterback, Michael Bishop, as those two duel. Andre Talbot with a big game, but the Riders have rallied here in the fourth to make a ball game of it. With a touchdown away.
James Patrick almost sprung there, and there is a penalty flag brought down by Will Poole, but again, the Roughriders have been team comeback. Reggie McNeil. Well, those guys will be doing that shortly. Enjoying the sun. I guess it's an early vacation anyway.
Saskatchewan number
Got the
39.
sunglasses on.
10-yard penalty.
But boy, they
First
are
down.
going out in style here tonight. Showing some of the flash that this team has not exhibited at all this season.
No, they sure haven't. I'm sure for Don Matthews, he's taken notes on who stepped up here tonight in this final game. How about that throw from Kerry Joseph? Had to be less than an inch from being picked off by Omar Morgan at the goal line.
All right, back to Michael Bishop now. DJ Fleck can't bring it in. And again, how about Mike O'Shea? What could be his final game in what has been a glorious career. We have them mic'd up.
There we go. Hey, hit screen. Screen. We're going to block. Fire.
Second all-time leading tackler. Has been non-committal whether he will come back or not. This could be it. Andy Fantuz, first down for the Riders. Then again, we thought that about Mike O'Shea last year, and this is a guy who has virtually done it all with stops in Toronto and Hamilton through his career.
Well, the 1993 CFL Rookie of the Year. And that was just a small taste of things to come. An Outstanding Canadian Award in 1999 along the way. True student of the game, a warrior, a preparation freak. What can you say about Mike O'Shea? This guy plays the game the way it was meant to be played.
Dressler, and another Saskatchewan first down. And through the years, he has also played for Don Matthews a lot.
His effort, his knowledge, not his speed, but just his commitment to the game. If you had a whole team of Mike O'Shea's, you'd never lose a football game. He is that dedicated and that good. He is a remarkable football player.
Stu Ford again with some open field. Ford bashes forward, another first down. Stu Ford again off the sideline here tonight. Predominantly special teams, but with Wes Cates in the locker room, Ford's getting some carry time.
You see some misdirection here as the offensive line and slot back all blocked to the left. Ford takes it back to the right on the counter, finds some running room, moves the chains.
4 minutes to go. Argos lead by a touchdown. The Riders need a win here tonight. Bishop calls his own number and goes down. Mike O'Shea making the tackle, and right in the middle of it, getting into, he gets into it a lot and has gotten into it a lot with a lot of opposition through the years. And again, even for a guy 38 years old, as Chris Schultz said, closer to 40 than 30, still, you know, a proponent of preparation. With Desai Williams, the former Olympic bronze medalist, he does this before every game. And I ask you, though, is this a guy, if he's preparing like this still, is this a guy who is fading off to the sunset and thinking about ending his career?
Well, Mike O'Shea is a guy who only knows one way to play and one way to prepare, and that's all at full speed, full effort. So regardless of what decision he may make and the Argos may make, quite frankly, during the offseason, you know Mike O'Shea is never going to take his foot off that gas pedal.
So Luca Conji will come out. This could be a key field goal right here. 3:10 to go. Bishop unable to get that first down. Roughriders will have to get the football back, and again, they need a win here tonight if you're just joining us. Plus a BC loss on Saturday to get second place in the West. Conji, kick is up, and it is wide right. Key Stokes brings it out. And that's something that also doesn't happen very often. A Luca Conji miss. 3-minute warning on the field. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. Rona, the Canadian how-to people. Indoors under the CN Tower inside Rogers Center. Kerry Joseph, the former Roughrider, last year's most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League, has looked like the MOP of last year here tonight. Throwing 5 touchdown passes. His team ahead by 7. Joseph hangs in and takes off with it. Kerry Joseph with a hook slide. And his offensive line has done a tremendous job here tonight, keeping the Rough Rider front 4 at bay.
Well, you'll see this play does start with that tremendous protection from the big boys up front. Kerry Joseph has all kinds of time, but the coverage, as you see on the back end from the Rider secondary, is there. Now keep an eye on PK Sam, who's going to peel back on Maurice Lloyd. Drops a shoulder on him, just as Lloyd thinks he's about to tackle his quarterback.
Rough Riders need the football back. Out of the backfield is Jamal Robertson. Brought down and cut down right there.
Scott Gordon, one of the underrated free safeties in the Canadian Football League. He's done a lot of blitzing tonight, playing close to the line of scrimmage. We'll see him get down low to make that tackle, snuff out this Argonaut drive. Time when the Argos needed to run some time off that clock.
Saskatchewan.
Kerry Joseph, career high tonight with 5 touchdown tosses, and so now the Roughriders will get some good field position. And that Rough Rider D this season has been very good, as it was last year.
You see them near the top of the league in the important categories, and the balance, defending both run and pass equally effectively.
And they spread the wealth. There is not one spectacular defender. They all are equal, and they play team defense as good as anyone in the CFL. Vanderjack at his 6-yard line. Bringing the play clock down to 3 seconds. Will boot it away. Dressler under it at the 50. Weston Dressler on the sideline now into Argo territory, and 1:47 to go. And the BC Lions, anxious BC fans watching on Saturday. Doubleheader. We have the Hamilton Tiger Cats finishing out the season against Winnipeg. And should the Rough Riders come back and win this game, the BC Lions will need a win against Calgary. That's the doubleheader we have on Saturday. If the Riders do not win this game, then the Lions and Stamps will play it out, and BC will host that West Division semifinal. Bishop down the sideline and open and caught by Rob Bagg. What a throw by Michael Bishop, and the catch by Bagg, who has done everything this year except score a touchdown. He's had that happen to him 3 or 4 times now, where he's been stopped at the 1-yard line.
Let's talk first about the arm strength from Michael Bishop. He throws this ball falling down backwards off 1 foot on the money.
Well, what a show here that both Bishop and Joseph are putting on. And now Stephen Giles behind center, short yardage plunge here. Riders try to hit the end zone and tie this game up. And stopped, but a penalty flag on the play. And did somebody line up wrong back there? Flag was thrown right as the ball was snapped.
The Argos certainly defended this play well at the point of attack.
Offside, Toronto defensive line. Penalty is half the distance to the goal.
Yeah, they lined up offside back there, that 1-yard area. Walter Curry is hurt. He's on the field. Let's take a look.
There you see, leaning into that neutral zone. Waste a good surge and also end up losing a key player in their short yardage defense here. There's a big defensive tackle. Walter Curry, the 300-pounder, is the man who's down on the field.
A lot could happen here in the next little while. The Rough Riders, as the Argos try to put up a goal line stand here. Toronto could get the ball back and also use some time up and potentially get the winning points. We could also be headed to overtime. You saw what has to happen here. Saskatchewan in a must win in order to clinch second place. They need a win and a BC loss on Saturday. Curry still on the field. You know, just when Michael Bishop, and he did that a lot here in front of the Argo fans, and he was 11-1 last year, and threw a lot of interceptions and, you know, had problems with consistency, but he does that kind of thing too. just when you think, okay, well, he's not having a very good day, suddenly bang, one of those big plays that he is capable of doing with that arm strength.
Well, one of the things you have to like about Michael Bishop as a starting quarterback is his short memory. He doesn't dwell on the mistake. He doesn't let his confidence get rattled. He's able to bounce back. And you see Bishop back into that Saskatchewan Roughrider huddle after Giles ran the first play in this short yardage situation. Going to see Bishop back at the helm this time around.
Well, coming up after this game, Sports Center, Darren Detition, Jennifer Hedger standing by. Ottawa Senators winning tonight. Also signing their captain long-term today. Have highlights from here. And there goes Walter Curry. One of those newcomers on the line late in the season, helping the Toronto Argonauts. Unfortunately for him, a painful way to end this painful season. The Argos trying to finally win one. .129 on the clock.
Jerome Davis, the offensive tackle, is in playing defensive tackle now in this short yardage situation with Curry out of the game.
Big Chris Zarka's in the backfield, now on the line, straight ahead, and no signal. It looked like he might have plunged forward for the touchdown. Again, that was 1st and goal and no signal, so it looks like it's going to be 2nd down now.
Well, the Roughriders had a very good initial surge.
And there is the signal. And it is a Roughrider touchdown. That took a long time for that signal.
Well, it did. Hard to imagine from the initial burst that you saw from Michael Bishop, his center, Gene Mikowski, guards Mark Parenteau and Mike Abumetric. It was hard to imagine the way they exploded off the line that he wasn't in, quite frankly.
We're tied again at 38, minute 25 to go. The Argos will get the ball. And a chance to play spoiler here. So the Rider defense, Michael Bishop, 3rd touchdown of the night for Bishop.
On the Michael Bishop, Kerry Joseph duel, living up to its advanced billing here tonight. They've both had their ups and downs, but some of those ups have been spectacular at times. And here you see the touchdown drive engineered by Michael Bishop. The key play, this remarkable throw to Rob Bagg on the sidelines, which sets up that 1-yard sneak from Michael Bishop for the hat trick.
There is a very good opportunity here for the Roughriders still to get the ball back too. And there is a chance that we could have our first game of the season that goes into overtime. The shootout format last year, we had a number of ties in overtime games, but not this year. Riders, the defensive stand, could get the ball back and put their fate on the foot of Luka Conji.
And Ken Miller clearly willing to take his chances doing that, whether it's in regulation or overtime, which can so frequently become a kicker's game.
Got the hands team out here now with Jamie Borum. And looking to get the ball back. Actually, Borum's going to boot it downfield, so they tried the little fake there with the hands team, which was kind of peculiar at the time anyway, with the time left on the clock. Stokes finds a lane and is brought down once again by James Patrick, who's done a nice job on special teams here tonight. So the former Rough Rider, chance to spoil the party here.
Now bear in mind as well, when you look at those standings in the West Division, an overtime game in the Canadian Football League can still end in a tie, should the game be tied after each team has its 3 possessions. The Saskatchewan Roughriders could pick up a point here in which case a BC Lions loss against Calgary would still get Saskatchewan in second place.
Joseph gets out of trouble, then is brought down near the line of scrimmage. I don't know if he lost any yardage, actually got forward, so that is not a sack. A minute 10 to go. And now one of the biggest plays of the game coming up here.
Again, we see Kerry Joseph stepping up under that pressure, this time unable to make a play as Kidwana Jones fights back upfield to make the tackle.
Passing down, Argos need a first down. A little out pattern. Reggie McNeil can't bring it down, and the Roughriders will get the football back.
Well, not many opportunities here to find an open receiver for Kerry Joseph. He ends up settling on the sideline route to Reggie McNeil. Not a high percentage play. He's well covered by Omar Morgan.
And another injury right at the Riders sideline. Omar Morgan down and a little shaken up. Luka Konji again he's missed here tonight. Doesn't miss very often, but we saw what he could do with that lead foot of his with the wind. He's had the longest kick of the season so far, 55-yarder a couple weeks ago in Regina.
Yeah, we know Luka Konji's got that kind of range and no wind to contend with here inside Rogers Center.
Argos have to contain Weston Dressler here. Vanderjack at his 25. And it's a direct snap, and the Argonauts botched it. Whoops.
Special teams coach Marcelo Simmons looks like he's about to lose his dinner over on the sidelines, and I suspect Wally Buono's about to do the same in Vancouver. They go for the direct snap to the up back. Brian Crawford snaps a little high and hits him in the face mask. He's unable to recover.
So now well within Luka Konji's range, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders could be handed an early Christmas gift here by the Toronto Argonauts. And you're right about Wally Buono right now, because suddenly the BC Lions are taking notice. Just when it looked like the Roughriders might be out of it here in this fourth quarter, they have stormed back. It's been that kind of experience third time around for Don Matthews.
It would be a surprise to see the Roughriders do anything except run the football here.
Are you surprised they even tried the direct snap at that point, though?
Yes.
With 48 seconds left? I mean, why in the world would they do that? If it was 3rd and 1, I can understand. It was 3rd and 9.
The call makes little sense to me from the Toronto Argonauts.
Clock ticking down. Straight ahead, and that was a key one to get the first down here. Teed up more of the clock. Stu Ford. 39.
Eating up the clock and moving it a little bit closer for kicker Luka Konji.
Roughriders play this out properly here. They could virtually take it down to no time. Konji could seal it. Bishop watching the play clock. Decides to throw it. And knocked down in a penalty interference call. Looking for Andy Fantuz, and once again Jermaine Mays Inserted into the secondary this week, and that is an interference call.
Well, Andy Fantuz gets in behind Jermaine Mays on this one. Bishop lays it up. Mays tries to get the head around, but makes a little too much contact.
Number 42, automatic, first down.
See a little push and pull going on with Mays' right arm on that play.
Well, now first down right at the goal line. 16 seconds to go. Bishop in the shotgun. And the handoff up the middle and a touchdown. Neil Hughes. And the Saskatchewan Roughrider faithful have reason to cheer once again. What a strange turn of events for the Toronto Argonauts here in this last minute. And the beneficiaries, the men in green and white.
Well, a bizarre decision by the Argonauts to attempt the punt fake at a time where a good punt could have pretty much sealed a trip to overtime here.
It'll be very interesting to see who made that decision for the Toronto Argonauts.
You know, when you make a decision like that, you look at a cost-benefit analysis, and I just can't believe that with the potential cost of not making it on that fake versus the relative benefits, I can't believe the Argonauts decided to go for that fake.
Even if they had made it, we'd be sitting here saying, why did they even try that? Well, it's time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra. There is no doubt what the turning point is.
Well, that botched punt fake. The Argos attempted to go for the direct snap and run the ball. Hands the Roughriders a go-ahead touchdown with 12 seconds left.
Turning Point brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra Professional Grade. The Argos' last game of the season, maybe the last game again for Don Matthews. And one of the most curious play choices you will ever see in the final minute of a game, of a tie ball game.
We've seen the Saskatchewan Roughriders find some unique ways to come back and win football games late. This one takes the cake.
This one was gift wrapped. So it appears, unless the Argos can bring this all the way back with 12 seconds to go, it appears that the Saskatchewan Roughriders will still be alive in their hopes to host a home playoff date. Keith Stokes, clock at 9 seconds and a penalty flag, so Kerry Joseph will come out and will try the Hail Kerry.
One shot is likely all they'll get with 7 seconds left here.
On the return, illegal block. Toronto number 8, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, the odds even got stacked higher against the Argonauts. Michael Bishop, you know, throws 4 interceptions, runs for 3 touchdowns. It looks like he's the guy who will be Ken Miller's choice going forward into the postseason. He'd admit that he had some mistakes here tonight, but in the grand scheme of things, the win was most important. Unless the Argos have a miracle in mind. Joseph have to be, well, 1 second to go here. Tyler Scott. And this Argos season, if they don't get to the house, will go down as one of the worst finishes in their history. 9 straight losses, 6 in a row at home, and a nightmare for Kerry Joseph this year after what was a dream season last year. Last play of a wild game, a wild fourth quarter. Joseph has to heave it, lets it fly. Andre Talbot downfield, and that's it. That's it for the Argos. Mercifully, their season comes to an end. The Saskatchewan Roughriders can still clinch second in the West with a BC loss in Calgary. Sports Center next, the final, 45-38. An outstanding Saskatchewan fourth quarter comeback.